What's up, YouTube? I'm back with another Escape from Tarkov video, and today what I wanted to go over are 10 tips for new Tarkov players. If you're a 10,000 hour player, something like that, probably not going to be much new information for you, but if you're starting out, you're new to Tarkov, kind of like me, then I think these tips will help you because applying these helped my gameplay a great deal. These are general tips. These aren't going to be like specific key buy-ins or specific spots on certain maps or anything like that. They're just kind of general gameplay tips, hopefully help you survive more raids than you have in the past. So let's get right into it. All right, our first tip is not learning the maps. Now, there's a few ways we can go about this tip. Tarkov doesn't really do much as in the way of teaching you new maps. It'll tell you which extracts you have, but not how to get them. So there's a couple things that I would recommend when you're going into a new map. The first one, and I think my biggest recommendation would be to have a map up on a second monitor, on your phone, some way that even if it's something like Overwolf that you can pull up as an overlay while you're in a raid, anything that will help you be able to pick apart your map, because otherwise you're just kind of running in circles hoping that you run into an extract. The other thing you can do is to utilize offline mode and go into a map, do a good deal of exploring, and figure out where all your extracts and points of interest are before you even go into your primary raid. That's kind of boring. It's a little bit slower of a start, so I totally understand you just want to jump into raid, but it may not always be the best thing for you if you're hoping to survive all the time. All right, tip number 2 is gear fear. Gear fear is a phrase that you've probably heard if you've been around the Tarkov community much at all, but you may not know what it means. So what we mean when we say gear fear is, let's say, for example, you manage to kill a really heavily kitted player. You get his gear, you extract, and then what do you do with that gear? Put it in your stash because you're afraid that if you bring it into raid, you're going to lose it. Well, the fact of Tarkov is that eventually you will lose it. And my recommendation for getting over that fear is just to bring it in anyway. Get used to losing your gear. This is Tarkov, that's part of the gameplay loop. That's why we all keep coming back to it. There's something really satisfying about bringing in a Taz, headshotting a heavily kitted player, taking all of his stuff, making it out, knowing that that's going to happen to you in the very next raid. There's really no great super, here's a recommendation or your psychological fact that's going to help you get over that. It's just going to come with time, which is completely understandable. The other thing that we can talk about in this section is wanting to bring too good of gear. Once you get to level 15, you get the flea market. Maybe you're trying to build these meta loadouts every time. And it can be really fun playing with a junky loadout, just kind of seeing what you can do, seeing if you can manage to extract using, a scav kit or something that's a little more off meta. It's really satisfying. So I think that's probably a lot less of a problem than being afraid to bring your good gear. So just load up your good gear, get in there, lose it, and get over it. It's just going to take a little bit of time. Okay, mistake number 3, using too much stamina. This is the kind of thing that is going to catch you off guard occasionally, where you were sprinting too long, you didn't realize how much stamina you really used when you crouched, went prone, something like that, and somebody starts shooting you, you try to run, you're stuck there, you're trapped, you can't escape. So stamina management is really important in Tarkov for a lot of reasons. So the things that use stamina cause you to give audio cues to other players around you. So that's another reason it's really important to be cautious when crouching, when sprinting, when doing all these other things, because you're giving away your position to players that may be around you. Which ties us into our 4th mistake, and that's ignoring audio. So these kind of tie in together. Be careful when you sprint, be careful when you crouch, be careful when you aim down your sight, because everything that you do in Tarkov is creating noise for other players around you. If those players are experienced in Tarkov at all, they're listening for those and they're learning exactly where to pinpoint you, and then they're going to be waiting once you round that corner to take you out, take all your loot. So these go together in saying be aware of the audio that you're creating for other players, but also be really in tuned into the audio that other players are creating for you to hear. The rule of Tarkov is if you think you heard something, you did. So there's been plenty of times where I've said, man, I think I heard something, but I'm going to just keep going. I'm going to pretend like or not pretend like I didn't, but more like I think I heard it, but I'm not really going to trust myself. And then, 2 minutes later, I'm getting headshot around a corner because I didn't listen to myself. I didn't trust that I'd actually heard something. So be really in tune to those audio cues that you're creating and be ready to listen for the audio cues that other players are creating. Okay, mistake number 5, medical supplies. So this is a really tough one in this wipe because we're currently in the hardcore wipe, so you are pretty limited on the medical supplies that you can buy. You're pretty limited on the medical supplies that you can keep in your secure container, which makes it a little bit riskier to bring an optimal set of medications that you might want that you could normally do in your secure container without risk of losing them. But the fact is that having the proper set of medical supplies could be the difference of you making it out and you dying at extract because you couldn't walk fast enough to actually get there. You could time out, you could bleed out, there's all sorts of different things that could happen if you don't bring the right medications. So I know it's just another thing that you're risking losing, but it's part of the game. It may take you a few times, kicking yourself that, I should have brought the right medication. I should have brought the right supplies. I wouldn't be in this situation. We've all been there. I definitely do it more often than I'd like to admit, but that's okay. You'll get there. Mistake number 6, loot tunnel vision. So congratulations. You finally kill a player and escape from Tarkov. What's the first thing you do? Your instinct says to go and loot him, but here's what you don't know. That player you just killed is in a 4-stack, and all 3 of his buddies are waiting around the corner for you to go loot his body. So in Tarkov, we have to be really sure that when we take somebody down, remember those audio cues we were talking about lately? You just made a whole lot of those. You better be really sure the area is clear before you go loot that body, because that's really a very easy way to turn that whole kit that you were just about to loot. Well, now somebody's getting 2 kits, yours and then the one that you just worked really hard to get. So be careful. Mistake number 7, not utilizing offline mode. Tarkov isn't a game that gives you a whole lot of tools to help you improve and get better in practice. So I think it's a good idea to utilize the ones that it actually does give us, like offline mode. Offline mode can be used for a few different things. We've already talked about map familiarization, which is really great. Some other things you can do is, crank the AI amount really high, get a good feel for combat. Practicing that before you go into raid can help you kind of warm up, can get you a feel for different guns. Some other things you could do would be like practicing some new keybinds, recoil patterns. Like there's all sorts of stuff that you can do in offline mode if you want to do some practice raids without risking losing your gear. Give it a try, because I think you'd be surprised at different kinds of things you can find and different suggestions that you might find online for practicing different things. Mistake number 8, rushing quests unprepared. I've been very guilty of this one, where you're looking in your quest list, you say, okay, here's one I'm picking out, I'm going to go do this one. You get into raid, you get to that location that you found on your map, and then you realize that you're supposed to have a key to complete this quest, or you're supposed to have a toolkit, or you're supposed to have, any number of things that the quest in Tarkov might ask you to bring into raid with you. And because you didn't read the description, you got fast, you got lazy, whatever the case may be, you don't have it. And now you might have wasted that raid. Maybe you have some other things that you can get done, but now you're kind of scrambling because that objective that you went in with is now something that's completely unattainable unless you just get super lucky and find this key. So be sure once you've picked out your quest, you've really read through them, found out what you needed to complete it, and then came into raid prepared. Mistake number 9, insurance. I played probably my first 2 wipes without hardly ever insuring anything, because I figured if I die, people are going to take my stuff, so what's the point in insuring it? And that's not entirely inaccurate, especially probably at the beginning of wipes. More so, you're going to have a lot less chance of getting that back. But if you're, level 15, level 20 at the end of wipe, nobody wants your stuff. They might take a scope, they might take a gun every now and then, but you're going to get some of that stuff back. Here's the other thing to think about. You might not get killed by a player. This is Tarkov. There's tons of things in the game that can kill you. You stepped on a landmine. You fell and broke your legs and timed out at extract. You got killed by a scav, you know, any number of things that we can think of and theorize about. And those times, you're going to be way more likely to get your gear back. So do it. It's worth it. Probably not in the hardcore wipe, but that's not going to last forever. Insurance is relatively cheap compared to buying a new kit. It's usually worth it to at least insure some of it. See what happens. You'd be surprised. All right, mistake number 10, our final mistake, and that's going into raid without a goal. This is fine sometimes, especially when you're wanting to just familiarize yourself with the map. Maybe your buddies wanted to play with you and you're all on different quests, so you're kind of just, you know, doing whatever. But usually we're going to want to have a goal, whether it's, hey, I really need this specific piece of loot, so here's kind of these areas that I'm going to search and find it. Maybe it's a specific quest or set of quests that you're trying to complete. We want to go into our raid with an objective, but we also need to be prepared to say, you know what? It's time to tuck tail and run. I think I'm running out of meds, I'm out of food, I'm out of ammo. Let's regroup. Let's come back when we're prepared better, or maybe when our resources didn't get drained so terribly. You never know. It's Tarkov. Stuff happens all the time. So that would be my suggestion, is make sure when you select the map, you have a reason, you have a plan, and go in accordingly. Because, you know, once you hit that enter raid button, once you load in, that plan's going to change, stuff's going to happen, but at least have a loose idea of what your goal is for that raid. So that was it, guys. Short, sweet video. Just 10 mistakes that new Tarkov players commonly make. 10 mistakes that I definitely made. I still make a lot of these all the time, so don't worry about it. Hope you guys get better, and I will see you guys in raid.